Hey everybody, Edo here, and for this week's League video, I am super excited because we have Aldo from Impressions, and Aldo is my guy. Aldo is who helps me, after the Kickstarter, after I've fulfilled backers, get my games into stores. And I get this question all the time about how do I get into stores, what's distribution, all of that. So I thought it'd be great to have him on the show. He was around the neighborhood, so he came over. And so, I mean, to start, Aldo, why don't you just introduce yourself and let people know what you do, and then we can sort of ask some questions.
So, Impressions is not a distributor. I always tell people that. They think, oh, I'll sell my games to you. Impressions is a service for game publishers to sell games to distributors. So, it's our job to take games from Pencil First, and sell them to the wholesalers, the distributors that are out there for games worldwide. So, and we do some mass market as well, the book chains and all that other stuff. So that's our job for game publishers.
Right, and so basically, once you have your Kickstarter, you have a decision. You could sell direct over Amazon, right?
Sure.
Which has its pluses and minuses, and we can talk about that a little. You can work with somebody like Impressions and I guess PSI, and is that it?
Impressions and PSI are pretty much the only ones.
I think there might be a couple more coming, but because there's some fulfillment services who are trying to do it a little bit.
Well, there's a difference. There's a lot of people just fulfillment. When people come to me, they go, I want you to fulfill my Kickstarter. I'm like, we don't do that. They go, well, your fulfillment. It's like, kind of. We're what's called a consolidator, so we consolidate the sales to the distributors. So I personally will not do Kickstarter fulfillment. It's like forks in my eyes. I tried it in the beginning. No, I'm not doing it.
And he has a warehouse, right? So
yes, and I have a warehouse.
when Herbaceous, which was my most successful Kickstarter, we're going to ship a lot of copies back to the States, and I have to do the fulfillment, but I get to put the rest in his warehouse.
Woohoo!
And then the last option I know some people try to do is working directly with distributors.
They can definitely skip us. We're a middleman.
And he costs money. He's not free.
We're a middleman. We take a cut.
And try to call, but then you got to call all the distributors or try to get friendly with one or two and work that angle.
There's exclusives you can do out there. You can even skip distribution all you want, and some people even just start selling to stores, but there are thousands of stores.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do one, you can do all, you can do none, you can just do Kickstarter. There's tons of options.
And what proportion of your business would you, maybe not in dollars, maybe in clients,
sure,
would you say, are Kickstarter, indie sort of people who are running their games on Kickstarter versus more established?
Most have transitioned to using Kickstarter in some way, shape, or form. So even the old role-playing clients that were just making games, print on demand, whatever, now they're doing Kickstarter. So even if they do a Kickstarter for $1,000, everybody's getting into it. I have a couple of holdouts. There's a couple of clients that are holdouts.
But you do
Slugfest games,
Level 99,
Smirk and Dagger,
Minion
Games. Shout out to James Matthey. A lot of you know him and all his advice. We handle the distribution for him. Dennis from Bellwether, David from Grail Games, Keith from Thunderworks for Role Player. So yeah, these are just a few examples.
A little bit of a mix, right?
Yeah.
And so, one question I always get when I'm at shows or talking with people is, well, how many copies of a game should I make, right? So, I get 1,000 backers or 1,500 backers. Mm-hmm. You want to hit that threshold of 1,000 copies or 1,500 copies so you can get mass production. Mm-hmm. But then how many more should I order? Should I order 500 more, 1,000 more, 5,000 more? And some people have different risk thresholds, right?
But it's true.
Go ahead.
I'm a conservative bastard. Can I say that?
This is true.
Can I say that? I'm super conservative because data-wise, 92% of the time when we put a game out there, 500, 600 copies, then it's dead most of the time. Sure, there are ones that break out. Great, Energy Empire needs bigger print runs, Red Dragon Inn, things like that. But for the most part, somebody should print maybe 600 more for distribution, 600, 800 more for distribution. Right. Not a lot. Just go back to print. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people go, I want the better price. I want to save shipping. But then you're just going to be paying me for storage every month.
Well, and to be fair, right, I think some would argue that since for your business you have a little bit more of you go into different chains and bigger stores, but distributors can sort of come and only take as many as they really need at any given time and just call you again. They don't have to do large orders. Mm-hmm. That sort of might inherently make them take smaller orders.
Correct.
Versus a company that has to sort of bet into it and take on the responsibility to really market it and promote it and get it out there.
Correct.
So it's a different thing, right?
Yeah, definitely distributors have low risk with us. They can come, because they're doing our minimum with everybody, they can just go, we just need one more copy of Princess and the Goblin. We'll just get one.
Right.
And you think, well, that's horrible, but in essence, that's actually one of our great benefits is the distributors can just restock anything they want to always have your game in print in some capacity or for sale in some capacity.
And for me, I've lived in that size and space. I mean, Liftoff sold out, Gem Pack Card sold out, TST Siblings Troubles hasn't yet.
No.
Herbaceous is going to be the biggest run I've done so far, so I'm pushing that number a little bit.
I know, we discussed that, and you pushed me out of my conservative window because they said, yeah, the Kickstarter did great, it's a cool concept, you know, all these other things that we talked about. And so I said, push it a little bit, but not like tripling print runs or...
Yeah, and I think when you can just do another print run, and when it's... I mean, it's hard because, there is an incumbent cost to doing it and you want that discount, but I would certainly agree that the way the industry is moving, there's so much competition, both on Kickstarter and in stores. There's so little shelf.
Everywhere.
It's more like the mobile industry where people are just sort of, it's hot release, sales spike, and then, some games have nice tails, but most are just, they sort of pop and then they disappear, right?
Yep.
And so do
3 months.
Sales, right?
3 months. After 3 months, most games are dead.
Right. And that might not be your game, right? But nevertheless, depending on where you are in your business, and if you don't have a lot of savings and you're on the hook to all the money you put out, it might not be a bad thing to be conservative. So I've been happy with the approach we've taken at Impressions, but I know for other people they want to be more aggressive, and I know people have been more aggressive and been successful being more aggressive.
Sure, definitely. But it's funny that you say, because you're a designer mostly, so you say your game is great, you want to sell it, blah, 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 and that's one of the problems I try to tell people. Even though if I sit and play a game and I think it's the greatest thing and oh my god, this is so much fun, there's obviously other people and their opinion, like beer or wine, everybody has a taste, but more so than that, which is the biggest problem that nobody thinks is that nobody has the marketing dollars. You don't have marketing dollars, so like we traditionally do with product. So people won't know your game is great because there's a whole flood of other games that they're looking at. So how are they going to know your game is great if they can't even find it in the flood of product? Because this industry right now is flooded.
Right.
Beyond.
And it's easy to walk away from a conversation with Aldo and being depressed. Right?
Yeah,
that is not an uncommon end of an Aldo conversation. But I think it's important. I always, you just have to have it in the conservative Aldo voice.
I'm a realist.
A realist.
I'm a realist.
The realist, and then you can have the optimist on the other side. But so let's see here. So coming out of your Kickstarter, you should think through how you want to get into distribution, and again, whether you're going to approach Impressions or PSI
or anybody, all on your own. But the other thing is, these people most of the time they approach the distributors and me after they've already printed and it's on its way from China. You guys call when you go, we have 600 more from our Kickstarter because we had to print a minimum of 1,500 or something like that. Oh, we have 600 more. And while it's shipping over, we get the phone call going, I'm going to have 600 more after my Kickstarter's filled. We want to sell it to you in distribution. We're like, no, you should have called us like 2 or 3 months ago. That's actually one of the biggest publisher mistakes people who do Kickstarter out there, is that they don't realize that distribution really needs a 3-month advance window from before your game is coming out, because they want the game pretty much at the same time as your Kickstarter backers. We slate our clients' products 2 weeks after Kickstarter backers get theirs. So if retailers and distributors see that the Kickstarter game's been out for months, they're more likely to say, I missed the boat. And you think, missed the boat after 2 or 3 months? Right. But it's true. That's the way it is in this industry.
And so, certainly, so key lessons just to keep in mind is, one, have a game plan before the product's coming back, right?
Before you hit the button to print.
Right. So typically, with Aldo, but I think with perhaps PSI or different groups, what is a solicitation.
Yeah, the solicitation.
Hey, Herbaceous is being printed, manufacturing's beginning.
Should be here in February
or March, right? and then
description,
picture price point,
price, ISBN, UPC,
right, all that
SKU
stuff.
codes, all that stuff, and that data, which sounds so dry and boring because it's the dry and boring business side of things. Like, it sounds dry and boring, but it gets into their systems and gets into their data, so they can at least get some feedback and idea from retailers, or retailers really, to see maybe there's something we're missing, or maybe there's something we should know that retailers are hooked into.
Right.
So
and so make that decision, or approach people early.
yeah.
Again, you can consider your option. I mean, some people are if you have the space for the game and you're willing to pack it and sell it, doing fulfillment through Amazon or making it perfect for Amazon. So if you have never, Jamie Stegmaier has a whole
How things fit in a box. Yeah.
a thing on his site, but Amazon's very particular on how you need to prep it to go into their automated system. So if you're going to go that route, spend the time to figure out how to do that, and that's not what this video is about, but you can learn about that. But so you can go that approach, and you're going to get the best margin, right? You're going to get a great margin selling directly. You just need to have an audience.
Sure. The theory is distribution is the highest volume and worst margin, but that's really changed with Kickstarter. There are so many, of course, success stories where people just get giant direct Kickstarter only stories.
Yeah, but I think there's still, and I know this was true for me, but I think people still like to see the game in a store. Like, to some degree or another, that's sort of part of the validation of the effort. That it's like, I can walk into a store and see a game I made or my friend made or whatever. So I think that's one of the things that moves people away from just the Amazon route.
It's a really good feeling to walk into some random, let's say you go to Seattle from San Francisco, and you just go, what's the local game store? And you're like, there's my game, there's Keith's game, there's these people you know, and you're talking, James's game, and it's just really cool.
And that one's going to be everywhere.
It just released on Tuesday.
Yeah.
In-stores Tuesday.
That's a great game. Tuesday. I did a review. You can check it out. Okay. Actually, I've reviewed all of these games except for Role Player. So, Keith, send me a copy and I'll review it. But
sold out.
Sold out. He did the single player for Urbation. So anyway, it's a small industry. And then, again, calling distributors on your own or going direct to stores is an approach. Is it your full-time job, right? Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, most likely. If you were going to call retailers directly and deal with retailers direct, that's a full-time job.
Yeah. So then you have to think about how many units you're going to bet on, and whether you want to be conservative and then just do another print run, or you're going to bet big and then make it happen. And then what else?
Well, the next thing is, we talked just briefly, but getting the word out for your game.
Oh, right.
Everybody thinks that Kickstarter is like your marketing. Oh, well, I did 1,000 backers, I'm going to do great. And then way back in the day when Kickstarter first started, if there was like 150 backers, you knew it actually wasn't going to sell well in distribution. But if there was 1,000 backers, you knew there was like this proportion.
Sure.
Not anymore.
Sure.
There's no way anymore. Like, I've seen games that have 300 backers that do incredible,
right,
and games with thousands of backers that just die a death very quickly in distribution.
And it has a lot to do with what your theme is and what your product looks like and what your price point is. A game that was an awesome price on Kickstarter but might be $10 too expensive in retail suddenly, because the margins are different. If you're just, a distributor is going to sell to wholesale at 50%.
Pretty much,
right?
Most of the time they sell to retailers at 50 off.
And then you got to sell to a distributor at 40%, right? So that's very different than when you're doing a Kickstarter and you're basically just selling it directly.
Oh, did we mention that I get a commission off of the 60 off? So it's even worse. I mean, it's like I said, it's the worst discount and hopefully the best volume.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, and you I have a full-time job and you store my stuff. Among other things.
Hey, I have a full-time job. It's this. But right now the other thing is, how do you push this game? How do you get people to notice it and all that other stuff? And really, this is such a consumer-driven market right now. It's all about the gamers giving WoW somewhere through social media, through Board Game Geek Buzz, through ads, whatever, conventions.
Yeah, and I think this was actually something I did. I've learned more, which is you have this whole effort around your Kickstarter, and if you've done one, you know this. If you haven't, but you have this whole marketing Kickstarter prep. The 30 days you live through for your Kickstarter. But again, if you want your game to have life afterwards and be in distribution and be in sales, you need to do it all again when you release and launch. You need to spread the word. You need to get people going to stores looking for it, or Cool Stuff Inc., or buying it online, or wherever. You want players who are playing it to rate it. You want players who are playing it to post about it. You want them to tell their friends. You want to reach out to new people. Some people start running ads again. But if you're just expecting sort of the distribution channel to take care of it on its own without any effort, perhaps that might work. For some people it might, but overall, again, there's just so many of you next to you, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many people.
There's so much, and most retailers, they're just going to take, no offense to my lovely retailers or distributors, they're going to take what I would say is the easier route, which is, oh, I can sell more Magic cards, I can sell more Pandemic, I can sell more Settlers of Catan, whatever is the already selling a lot,
Right.
versus, oh, what's this?
Right.
You know, so I always tell people ask me, they go, what should I do to market my game? And I always tell them 3 things. And everybody laughs at me. Whatever, that's fine. I'm an old curmudgeon now. But I say, number 1 is conventions. This is a consumer-driven marketplace. Conventions are 99.9% your target market. When you go to, Gen Con Origins, all your local gamer conventions, you know what I'm talking about. Even PAX is becoming it as well. And then I say, number 2 is conventions. Gen Con, Origin, da-da. Number 3, conventions. And everybody goes, I have a full-time job. I can't do it. I only sold 12 this weekend. I stood there all weekend, da-da-da-da-da. But it doesn't matter. That is 99.9% of your target market. It's the best marketing you can ever get.
Now, I'll actually add some color to that because I know lots of people who feel that is a dated idea and approach and perspective.
I know.
Bygone era before the internet.
Sure.
One, I agree there's a ton of value at conventions, both whether you have a booth or you're just getting a game player and you're playing and you're playing and playing. It's high visibility both with the people at the convention, but all of the social networks attached to the convention. So don't think of the convention as just the stated people. It's a beacon of what's happening in games. It's getting spread out.
You're always going to have local retailers at game conventions. You're going to have clubs. Yeah. You're going to have reviewers. Even you might have a distributor pop by who's in the area, like a sales rep who works at one of the distributor locations, things like that. There's a lot of connections.
And that's the other half that I think if you separate just one specific title for a second, being at conventions as a publisher or as somebody who's done Kickstarter as a creator, you meet all those people. And that's how you build a network, and you get to know other people who have made, and you get to ask people questions and learn from other people and just build that network between designers and publishers and retailers and distributors. So the value of being in the system gives you, you can talk to Scott from Renegade, or you can talk to whoever.
You can talk to other publishers.
And figure out what they're doing and get advice, and maybe look at, parallels to what you're trying to do with somebody else. So I think the value there is through the roof.
But don't forget, but I agree with you that some people say it's dated. I mean, because people look at the big guys. They look at Jamie Stegmaier and his games. He's never at conventions with booths.
But he does actually go to conventions with rooms.
Yes, but he doesn't have a booth selling, him demoing, Exploding Kittens, Cards Against Humanity, got a booth at Gen Con, I think, once. Whatever. You don't see those, and people go, well, gosh, look at how big they are. I don't need to go to conventions. I can just do that. Well, they are definitely outliers. Please, they are not the commonplace. They're the exception to the rule. They are outliers. But you can be one of those.
Yeah. I mean, as the market gets flooded, you will have overall more business in the market. Yep. So there's overall going to be bigger and bigger winners. There's just going to be more and more losers as well. And you just got to figure out where you are. You just learn as you go.
No, it's true.
And not every game is the same. Don't be discouraged, right? One game might do better than another, and you might hit, with one or,
Well, so many people get emotional about their first game, too.
Sure,
That's the thing for the first time Kickstarters. They put so much into their game, they get so emotional, and they think this one game is going to sell forever for them. And 6 months later after distribution, I'm like, okay, where's your next game? And they're like, what? We still my game. And I go, we're done. Well, we spent 3 years on this game. And I was like, I'm sorry,
you can walk away from Aldo depressed.
I'm sorry, but of course, exceptions to the rules, but for the most part.
But I think, for a general overview, it's been sort of a long chat, but I think that sort of covers...
there's obviously so much more, for the good, the bad, the exceptions, outliers, all that other stuff.
But I think that those are the main things to keep in mind. For the most parts with an Impressions or a PSI or any of these, you just go to your website or theirs and you just email, right?
Yeah, just shoot an email, inquire, we look at your games. Space-wise, we're just flooded. We just, having, room is just...
Yeah.
it's not as easy to get more space as everybody thinks it is. Oh, I'll just sign up and get more room, But it's not. But then there's also the tipping point, too, where you kind of say, you know what, the market's just flooded. You know it's flooded yourself, and you're like, it's going to be a disservice to other people like you if we got too many clients. Then we don't pay attention to you or the existing, things like that.
Well, let's end on this question. So,
Okay.
board game industry isn't a boom, right? It's growing and growing.
Oh, yeah.
Cultural acceptance, especially in the United States. I mean, it's been big in Europe, but it really is in a great period.
Yep.
But you could call it a balloon. You could. So where is it? Is there decades more of growth? Is it flooded? Are we looking at Atari and we're coming to the?
I don't know. This is recorded, right? I think you're going to see a decline in the economy and our market around March.
You're like, it's like in 2 weeks.
Like in March. I think March. It's after the election. No, I say after in March because there's a lot of economic data that shows after any president is elected, there's greatness, and then a few months later, around March or April, there seems to be a lull. But I think our industry will take a bigger hit. Retailers have been telling me that because Magic the Gathering had 4 releases in 2016 versus the normal 3, that kind of flooded the market and took dollars basically away from gamers, because gamers want to commit their dollars to Magic first because that's our leader in the marketplace. So they won't have dollars for other things, and they're going to have to cut back on a massive scale. That's from retailers. So anyway, we'll see.
I'm going to bet against Aldo.
Well,
I'm going to say I think that
you got to put a note in your calendar to revisit this.
We can use March, but that the audience is still growing faster than it'll be in a decline.
Interesting.
But like we saw in mobile, and I'm very familiar with the mobile market, you are going to continue to see the flood. So it's going to be harder for any individual.
Correct.
And the people with the bank, the market with the audiences, are going to still have these big hits, but then other people won't find the same success. And you'll still have the random diamond in the rough.
Totally. I just think overall we're going to see a little decline after the first quarter.
So get out in February, right? I mean, is that what you said?
I don't know. I mean, who am I to say? It's all anecdotal.
I have games releasing after March, so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, thanks for coming on the show, Aldo. Hopefully we covered as many topics as possible, but if you have any more questions, I can convince him to come out here. Sometimes he brings cool games that we get to play. And I'll link the reviews for some of the ones of these I've reviewed. I like them all.
Good.
I want to play this one, though. So cool. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for the time. Thanks.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.